Ashes of Creation is one of the most exciting MMORPGs to come out in a long time, with the Intrepid team listening to, responding to, and changing the game based off good feedback. It's no wonder the game is being covered by some of the biggest content creators in the MMO space. For the last few weeks, I've been poring over all of the Ashes content I can get, fully absorbed in Hopium, and hearing about the classes, the combat system, the world, caravans, node wars, ship wars, and the flagging system. What isn't this game talking about? There's so much information out there, and Intrepid Studios keeps delivering more and more content of what they're working on and where they're at. Frankly, it's hard for a mere mortal such as myself to not get excited. I like to keep myself grounded though, and not just ingest the optimism. I also want to see the criticism, which is why I was excited to see Lucky Ghost's video on the big problem that Ashes of Creation faces. You see, Lucky Ghost content in MMOs in general is more PvE driven than my own. An admitted PvP player, and our thoughts on what games could and will be will differ based off of that. For me, Ashes, I am excited for PvP, but the entire world also is what excites me, PvE and PvP alike. So I was excited to hear his feedback and his criticisms. Always wary of clickbait titles, I clicked in, honestly eager at this point to see a contrarian viewpoint to all the constant optimism on Ashes of Creation. I mean, these guys at Intrepid can't walk on water, right? Right? Anyway, let's hear his concerns. The first concern Lucky brings up is how Ashes of Creation's corruption system is a one-to-one replica of Lineage 2's. He goes on to explain how this is problematic in these types of systems due to griefers and PK accounts that are built with endgame gear to kill players and, quote, make them quit the game. So the entire goal of these PK accounts, according to Lucky Ghost, is to make other players quit the game and make them miserable. My first issue with this video lies here. Ashes of Creation is not a one-to-one exact replica of Lineage 2's. If you go to the Ashes of Creation Wikipedia, which I'll provide a link in the description for you, you will see that they have plans in place for combating these issues. The number one issue from Lucky Ghost in this regard: griefers are an issue on dungeon pulls because they can pester and kill your tanks or healers without flagging themselves. So his point of view is you can attack a healer. So if you want to grief a group and get them to leave while they're pulling a group of adds, you can attack the healer, get them to lower health to let the adds kill them. So that way the tank dies and the entire group wipes. You get frustrated and you leave the game, and you don't have to flag. You don't have to flag in the game. The Wikipedia states that nobody outside of your party can see your health bar. So if a bystander or another person outside tries to mess with you during a pull, attempting to get in a blow that will put you at low health so the mobs can finish you off and therefore not flagging themselves, they will not be able to because they do not know how much health you have during this engagement. They put themselves at risk of being corrupted in this system because if their blow kills you, which they don't know if it will or will not, they are now attacking an unwilling opponent and have gained a corruption score. I do not want to go too far into detail in the full corruption system as it's known so far, but the point is, if you kill an unwilling combatant in Ashes of Creation, you have become a murderer and have gained a corruption score. When your corruption score gets high enough, you are now visible to bounty hunters on the map. If you are corrupted, you can lose more materials than the unwilling participants you did kill. If you are corrupted, you cannot use the banking system either, and with a high enough corruption score, your character begins to lose combat prowess. So these high-geared characters that are built towards killing players in this way, in the Ashes of Creation, will not be able to function in the way that they could in other games because there's a system in place designed to prevent that from happening. Basically, they have a system in place that is like Lineage 2, but it combats the issues of griefing and PK accounts. Your amount of corruption goes up based on the level and disparity between you and the person you're killing. So although in Ashes, you can go kill newer players in zones if you so choose to, if you do so, you have an escalated risk of losing materials and even gear and weapons if you do so. So, as a corrupted player, if you die to bounty hunters or to players fighting you, you can drop your own gear and weapons, which can be costly depending on how expensive some of these materials are. Obviously, it hasn't been thoroughly tested, And a lot of the system will be tested during the Alpha 2 testing phase, which has not come out yet, and the exact levels of corruption are not yet known, but the point is that Ashes of Creation wants to improve upon and expand the Lineage 2 system, not do a one-for-one remake of it, and the idea of this specific system sounds exciting to me. If you want to be an evil, corrupt villain with the world after you, you can certainly do so, but you will have PvPers as well, looking to pick up bounties on said corrupted players, potentially get even more drop materials, and have a chance at the gear you've been using to slaughter innocents in the village. It all depends on the system, of course, but there's a game of risk-reward here, whereas the previous systems seemingly had less risk but more reward. Point number 2 of Lucky Ghost's video. Lucky goes on to show that MMO players do not like this type of griefing system, and although there are PvP players that do, they're in the minority. Lucky Ghost even posts a graph of a community poll he did on his wall, asking if people would be interested in this type of combat, and goes on in the video to bring it up showing 82% of those that gave a yes or no answer do not like the system. The problem with this poll is it's not exactly what the Ashes of Creation system is. You're not forced to PvP in Ashes. The system is designed to leave you with choices. To potentially corrupt your opponent by not fighting back, but you drop more materials in the process. Or you could choose to fight back and drop less materials if you die, or be a corrupt, murdering overlord yourself. You can play all of Ashes Creation without having to PvP if you don't want to. Nobody is forcing you in this system to fight back, but in this system, you will die more than in a system where this environment did not exist. The poll to me that was given as presented, in my opinion, was also a little misleading. Not only to the context. When he posted the original poll on his video, he showed that 82% of people said that, no, this isn't the type of game for me, whereas 18% are yes. But if you go look at his original video, or his original poll on his channel, he also had a third answer, which was no preference. And so, although he's right, he's not wrong with his original statement. The original poll was, are you interested in this type of combat, yes or no? Or does it not matter to you? And to me, 22% of the population saying that this doesn't matter to me means that this system existing doesn't make or break their choice for playing this game. And so I'm not saying this in one way or another. These players may like this type of game or they may not like this type of game, but ignoring 22% of the population outright for saying that this isn't an issue for me is a little misleading, in my opinion, for this type of video. I think that the overall group of people that would be interested in this type of system is larger than what Lucky Ghost is leading on in this video. Also, why is no listed as the #1 question here? I can't think of a single time when answering a yes or no question where no was listed as the top response. Anyways, I was curious, so I decided to conduct my own surveys on my own channel. Now, a couple caveats here before we dive into that. #1, I am an MMO PvP content creator for the Elder Scrolls Online. Almost all of my content revolves around PvP, so my audience will choose PvP at a larger rate than Lucky's audience. #2, Lucky Ghost has a bigger channel than me, and I am not at all debating the merits that MMO players prefer PvE over PvP. I think most players would agree that PvP MMOers in general are a smaller audience, myself included. That has nothing to do with this poll though. So, I proceeded to ask my channel the same question. Thoughts on an MMO with forced, always-on PvP? I capitalized the same words with emphasis, but switched the yes or no. I also left out the no preference because at the time of the poll, I had not seen that he had cut out that portion of his original poll in the video. All I had to go off of was the video itself. My channel, because it's a PvP channel, voted in favor of an always-on PvP system, 62% to 38%. The fact that they're in favor isn't the important aspect, though. What's important is what happens next. The next day, I posted a poll more like the Ashes of Creation system. What are your thoughts on an open-world PvP MMO where you can kill anyone, but if you kill unwilling combatants, there are consequences like losing damage on your next attempted kill, risk of getting attacked by bounty hunters. If you die to a bounty hunter or player, you could lose some of your gear, weapons, as well as more loot. Basically, there's risk and reward for attempted griefing. I attempted to structure my question more like what the Ashes of Creation system has, a system of choices, with risk and reward, and the differences in polling are there. 72% of the pollers are now in favor of this type of system, up from the 62% in the original poll, Lucky's poll that I wrote in the exact same way. People were more in favor of this type of system on my channel than the original, and I would be confident in saying that if Lucky Ghost did a similar poll on his channel, he would get even more people in favor of or indifferent to this type of overall system, meaning that they're either in favor of it or this type of system is, not deal breaking for them. Once again, the channel size here, PvP, PvE does not matter. The questions with how it is asked do matter, and I think in general more people are excited for a game like Ashes of Creation than Lucky Ghost is alluding to in his video. We will see though, there's a long way to go from Alpha 1 to the live game. The third point I want to bring up is size and scope of Ashes of Creation. Lucky Ghost shows in another graph that PvP only games like Albion or Black Desert are not nearly as popular as World of Warcraft, the most popular MMO of all time. Basically his point here is that there are just not enough PvP only players to want to play this type of system, and the game will fail to deliver monetarily and therefore will not be able to provide the rollouts of new and fun patches that other games will provide. And Ashes therefore should do more things like the current popular MMOs to bring in more players and be competitive monetarily. My contentions with this are many, but I'll try to narrow it down here so as not to bore you all to death. My first contention is that if you go to YouTube, there are videos upon videos upon videos about the death of MMOs and how most MMOs in the space are dying. Hell, Lucky Ghost posted a video on this himself just 5 days before he posted his Ashes video, so he is also well aware that in general, this brand of game is struggling and declining. When I watch these videos, there are lots of reasons for this, and each game is different, but to name a few, the cash grab aspect of a lot of MMOs with pay-to-win style items, cash grabs for convenience items where the game inconveniently makes things tougher to do while then giving you the answer to that through money, and even just the overall difficulty or the watering down of the game has led to the decline of a lot of these once beloved games. I want to dive a little bit into the last one. The watering down of MMOs has been an issue for a while, and one of the biggest complaints of MMO diehards is that these games cater to too many people. Not enough rewards, not enough of a challenge. The big companies drawing in a large audience at the cost of the value of the game itself. Are you an MMO player, and does this sound like your issues with your favorite game? It probably does, because most of the big games in this genre are falling into the same line and are in decline, with this one being one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion. I personally have been looking at other MMOs and games to play for a few years now, because of the performance, balance, and just overall lack of challenge that my currently most played MMO, The Elder Scrolls Online, has been rolling out with for the last few years, and I keep running across more of the same each time I do research into a new MMO. That's why listening to Steven Sharif's interviews about Ashes of Creation, where he talks about how he doesn't want safe spaces, he wants challenge, and quote, soft friction, as he terms it, that's why this hooked me. My interpretation of his goal is to have an immersive MMO experience, to fully be involved in the world, and the more systems for freedom you have in the world that exist, the more immersive a game can be. Now obviously these things need to be balanced and a lot can fail here with a lot of systems, but this is the main attraction that brought me to Ashes of Creation. Now for those of you that don't know, I played a game with a lot of freedom in the past to do whatever. It was Kingdoms of Camelot. A knockoff version of Ebony Online, where you build up your castles, build troops, basically feed your troops, train up more, and try to have as big and as prosperous of castles as possible. You had choices in this game to be peaceful and build, or to fight anyone and everyone you chose to. You could choose to play solo, or in an alliance of up to 100 total players. With an unlimited amount of alliances to choose from, there are often alliances with sister alliances all with the same goals: to build peacefully and grow your armies. Then there was also the freedom to attack, raid, pillage, and plunder anyone and everyone you wanted. But the consequences did exist that if you attacked an alliance, you incurred the wrath of everyone in that alliance. You try to go after a small fish or an easy target, you have someone even bigger knocking at your door. So alliances with warring or PvP style alliances were formed, and alliances with non-warring, peaceful alliances were formed.
Do you want to form an alliance with me? Absolutely, I do. Good, excellent.
This game's graphics were not good. It was a simple game, but the inner strife of alliances in each individual domain changed how the game functioned and honestly were better than the game itself. I spent years playing this game because of the internal strife and drama of alliances, wars, and peace. I know very well what happens in games like this with a lot of freedom to choose, and I wanted to share that with you here because although it's not the same genre, it's not the same type of game, the player choices are and will be similar. Big bad PvP players would play with other big bad PvP players and fight everyone. They'd fight other PvP players, builders, everyone. PvP was their enjoyment, so they PvP'd. Builders would build their castles, their worlds, and they would choose whether or not to defend with their troops or let their resources in that castle get taken. If the resources got taken and they didn't respond in time, the troops could die. But the alliance you were in was there to help in that regard. Eventually, some of the PvP alliances would piss off enough of the other alliances that it often became the best PvP alliance versus the entire server. Everyone teaming up to tear down this group of players that is fighting everyone, and that is exactly what I see happening on a lot of the servers for Ashes of Creation. You will have your PvP alliances set out to fight other people, to defend dungeons, to have node wars, caravan wars, ship wars, all of the above. They will vie to be the best and conquer everyone. Lucky Ghost paints this as the end of the story, but it's not. What's stopping your guild from working with another guild? What about 2 guilds, 5 guilds, the entire server? Lucky in his video brings up the second best PvP alliance in the second best spot, also defending that. Doesn't the second best PvP alliance want to be number 1? Don't they want to knock down the current number 1? What's stopping you or your guild from building alliances to work with other PvP guilds to oust the one bugging you? What's to stop nodes from working with each other against a common enemy? The point is, as I see it from my research in Ashes, nothing is stopping people from grouping up on this large of a scale. When you die in Ashes, you lose gear value. Basically, you become even less and less of a force. So, these top PvP guilds that Lucky is referencing in this video, they can only grief everyone in the game for as long as everyone else in the game lets them. Then it's open season wherever they go, attacking them without mercy every time they log in. The entire server going after these players. I'm not saying this will happen. My point is that there's systems in place for this to happen. I can assure you that some PvPers are excited at the thought of having PvP literally everywhere they go. I can assure you that once this or something like this happens, most PvE players will mostly get to do what they want to do because these players getting hunted won't have the opportunities to grief. They'll be fighting whoever goes out to get them. The point with all this is to say that Ashes is trying to break the mold of the MMO genre. A game doesn't have to be like all the other games in its genre to succeed, especially a genre with mostly failing video games. Why in the hell would you create another game that is dying exactly like the rest? You shouldn't. Elden Ring doesn't cater to everyone. It is unabashedly itself, a game for more hardcore players with a rich storyline and great boss fights and animations. Nobody would say that Elden Ring caters to everyone, and it will probably go down as the 2022 Game of the Year. It has been the most sold game in 2022 up to the date of this video, and they did that by making just a great fucking game. No catering, just a vision and execution. Personally, I haven't played a single other game in the series, but I bought and played Elden Ring. I almost solely PvP on the Elder Scrolls Online, but I did only PvE on Elden Ring because it was that good. A good game will get people to play regardless of preconceived notions as to what the game should be in the genre. If it is fun, people will play it, and it's really that simple. I'm refreshed to see Ashes of Creation because it's not trying to be like everyone else. It's working on and improving an immersive MMO environment with choices and freedom, with risk and reward for those choices. I'm not only excited for the PvP aspect, I'm also looking forward to just getting lost in the game, doing dungeons, leveling my characters, and experiencing the world and storylines. I'm excited about everything in this game because they're setting out to make the best game possible within their vision. They're not trying to cater to every player, watering down their game to do so in the process. As Steven Sharif himself says, this game is not for everyone, and that's okay.
This type of change creates a very compelling type of gameplay. And not everybody is excited about PvP, but as I've always said, Ashes of Creation is not meant to be the game for everyone. right? There are a lot of games where it is entirely safe to exist on a server, and you don't have to worry about threats or risk, right? It's just all opportunity. I know I'll eventually get the trophy, right? I just need to run in the hamster wheel a bit longer, and then I'm going to get there. Like that, everyone gets that trophy. What we want to do with Ashes is we want to
gotta work for it.
Rethink that approach, right?
Hopefully this video was taken in with the way it was intended. A critique of the Lucky Ghost's opinions and video. Lucky Ghost does have a point. If these systems are not executed well, Ashes will have the same problem that these other games did. I think Intrepid knows this, which is why they're working on improving these systems and listening to player feedback and concerns. I, for one, am excited to test out the corruption system during the Alpha 2 tests when it comes out. And when Alpha 2 comes out, I will have more Ashes of Creation content covering everything that I encounter while testing. I do not know if this game is for me. It very well may not be. I may not like the combat. I may not like the griefing system, or one of the other systems that could be an issue. I am, however, extremely excited to try a game where the development team listens to the players and seems intent towards making a game that is fun and interactive with the players in mind. It may not be for you either, and that's okay, but none of us will know until we see what the game is and how it grows. Thank you all for your time. Have a nice day. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really had a lot of fun branching out and attempting to do a new style and kind of talking about other MMOs besides the Elder Scrolls Online. If you liked this video, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know so I'll be more inclined to do these more often. I will be doing more Ashes content, as I said, when Ashes 2 comes out. So if you're interested in that, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a good one.